What is up, Ascenders? Welcome back to another episode of Awaken. That is right, the show must go on. I'm back and I'm ready to get back into action, guys. I know it's been a little while, but I think you will soon be agreeing that it was well worth the wait because in this time, I believe it was about 6 to 7 months or so since I put out the last episode, I have come a long way, and I know that that doesn't sound like that much time. That doesn't sound like much time at all. But it's even crazy for me to think about how far I've come and how much has happened in these past 6 to 7 months. I've just grown so much more confident as a content creator, and I feel so much more aligned with my higher self, with my purpose, and with my truth. And this has been the result of just deepening my connection with Source and allowing for this to come through in everything that I do, especially my business. And this has been so powerful for me. When I just started to, in dropping resistance and just letting go of so many of the things that I felt like I had to do or I had to think about, and realizing that these were the things that were actually holding me back. When I just began to let go of those things and go into this with that sense of freedom and did it in the way that just felt right to me, which is how we allow for these things to come through, it just, things took off for me. It was really, really powerful. I started enjoying what I was doing so much more. And my business, it just started to explode. And I thought it was fitting to start with that little story here because this is the exact thing that my guest, Tarah Long, and I spoke about in this episode. You see, I spoke to you just now about my experience with dropping resistance and allowing. But I am not the only one to have this experience because Tarah has had the exact same experience. And that's why this is where the conversation went. We spoke about these things because we both believe deeply in it. And we thought we'd bring this forward to you guys because, like I said, powerful things start to happen when you allow for Source to come through, when you express Source in its truest form, when you align with your higher self and you bring this into your life, into your business, and into your impact. So I don't want to keep you guys waiting any longer. I think I've done that quite a bit already. I want to jump into this interview. Tarah is she knows her stuff. Her and I have quite a bit in alignment, so I support her in everything she does. So if you enjoy the content that I put out, I'm sure you're gonna love her as well. She's a spiritual life coach, and much of what she speaks to comes back to what it means to be an ascender. So I'm super excited to be sharing this with you guys. I'm super excited to be getting back into doing these interviews for you guys. The last thing I'll say before we jump into the interview is I think you guys are going to see a big difference in the energy and the tone of these conversations that I'm about to have. I do expect that you guys are going to start to hear some more upbeat and engaging conversations on the podcast. And like I said, I'm just super excited to be bringing this to you guys. And this is all going to begin with this episode right here. So without further ado, this is my interview with Tarah Long. I hope you guys enjoy it. I want to thank you for taking the time to hop in here with me. I know we've been back and forth for probably 6 months now that
Several
we've been
months,
thinking
yeah.
about doing this.
Yeah, something like that. It's
Has it been a
awesome.
bit busy one for you? Is that kind of what's been going on?
I guess I find myself, I don't like to really use the word busy, right? Because it's my choice of how I want to occupy my time or how I want to, spend my time. But yeah, I think it's just, I'm a big fan of just divine timing and trusting that. And so this is exactly the perfect time for us to connect.
When something happens is the time that was meant to happen, right?
Yes.
I agree. I like that line of thinking. And I feel like it's only in retrospect when you look back at how things panned out, do you see hey, you know what? If it had happened earlier, it wouldn't have gone the way that it should have gone or was supposed to go. You agree?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely just full surrender and trust and non-resistance to whatever is arising. I find that makes life super easy and super fun and super magical.
Honestly, I love your choice of words. I don't know if I mentioned this when we were speaking on Messenger, but one of the things that that drew me into to reaching out to you and just setting up this call even was the words that you use is so in line with the words that I find myself using. Like
Nice.
I know there's especially in this space there's like hundreds of different ways to say the same exact thing, right? We're all speaking differently about really the same core truth.
Hmm.
But I find that the words that you gravitate towards using, no resistance, allowance, alignment. See, I'm not even thinking about the words that I've heard you say. I'm just thinking about the words I would use, and I know that they would line up with yours. So
Yeah,
alignment, higher self, intuition, flow. Are those not the same very words that you find yourself using?
a lot. Yes. And you
I love it.
created me to say those things. So you're just reflecting yourself. It's beautiful.
Okay, I need to hear you speak a little bit deeper into that. What do you mean by that? I've created you.
So what I love this topic. It's basically like the foundation for me, like the foundation of all truth. So it's beyond like some mental concept, right? The idea or the truth that we're living in a dream or an illusion, right? That we are the creators of. So like every single moment, you are creating it with your consciousness. And you know, I believe that our higher selves are guiding the whole process, and we're creating what we need to expand and grow, or to reflect something back to us, or to send us in a certain like path. So everything is you know, essentially, like there's no out there. It's all just in here. It's all internal. And then you just see it on your great big projector screen that you
Mm-hmm.
created.
The
So we created
reflection.
each other.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. One of the things I like to say is that the law of attraction is sometimes better thought up as the law of reflection.
Mm. Yeah,
So
I love that. Yeah.
it's that idea that creation unfolds in this way of your outer, I say outer, right? But we know that it's all one.
Yeah.
Um, your reality is essentially a reflection of your internal self, right? Everything that and I think you'd agree. You know, I'm just going to assume that we're on the same page with everything.
Okay. I think
Everything.
that's
I think
fair.
it's going to
Yeah.
be one of those conversations where we're just going to both completely agree with everything we say. But you tell me if at any point you don't see things the same way as I do. But
And that's fine too. Who cares? Yeah.
of course, um, I'm saying like it's all stems from what we choose and what we wish to experience. Sometimes maybe it's not we're not looking at our experience and directly seeing how it's a reflection of what we actually want. But do you kind of have that same sort of mindset that it's all a reflection of your desires?
It's yeah, of your well, really of your intention, right? We attract what we are, not what we want or think we want. It's what is your intention, and then that's the life you're gonna have. You know, a lot of people think, oh, my intention, I want this other thing, but actually you don't, because it's not what's happening. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you're experiencing or whatever you're creating in your like 3D reality is exactly what you're putting out, exactly what you are.
Mm-hmm.
But at least in my
So
experience, yeah.
then what kind of advice do you have for someone that is just looking to take advantage of this, someone that's trying to make this work for themselves? Where do you begin with someone that is trying to set the right intention so that what does unfold for them is what they wish to see?
Mm. I think the first thing for anyone to do in that situation is really check in with themselves. Like, why do you really want what you think you want? And if so, why? And is it coming from a really like intentional place, or is it just, I want, there's nothing, of course, there's nothing wrong with having stuff, right? There's something wrong with like, I want the beach house and I want the perfect partner. And,
Mhm.
all that's great. There's no judgment in any of that and where someone's at with that. But honestly, it's like none of that stuff is ever going to fulfill you or make you happy. It might for a moment, right? And this is like a larger conversation, of course. It
That we
might,
are going to have.
yeah, we are going to have it. So exciting. I love it.
Honestly, actually, let me just butt in there. I'm super excited because I have no idea where this is gonna go, but I have a feeling we're gonna get into some fun stuff.
Yes, it always is fun.
Yeah,
So
you're
yeah, I think that's the thing that people who get attracted to like empowerment work, or yeah, I want to attract stuff. I want to see how powerful I am, and it can be fun to play in those areas. And if you feel called and it feels relevant for you, go for it. There is no judgment in that. But ultimately, we're not here to serve ourselves, right? We're not here to just get stuff out of life, and we're here to serve, in my humble opinion, to serve each other. And that is where, in my experience and seeing my clients and stuff, where that true fulfillment comes in. So it's like, why do you want first of all, what do you want, and do you really want it? Or is it just, if you uncover like, why do I want the beach house, why do I want the perfect partner, people are like, well, I want to be happy, I want to feel peace, I want to feel joy, so it's not about any of that stuff. And I'm sure your listeners, and you and myself included, can think about a time in your life where you have wanted something, it's come in, you've created it, it's come into your reality. And it might have been for moments, beautiful, blissful, joyful, whatever, but is it lasting fulfillment for the rest of your life?
Mhm.
No. No. And so I just really, that's where I start with people, is just telling the truth and being super honest about, okay, where are you at? What do you really want? And if it's cool, if you want the, Lamborghini or whatever, like, go for it.
But you have to understand why you want it.
Yeah. Why do you want that thing? And it's okay. Like, just be aware. Am I just consuming? Do I just want to consume stuff in the illusion, in the world? Totally fine. You can do that. It's just know that you're not actually going to get much out of it. You're not actually going to get the deep fulfillment you're looking for. Like, it's fun and life, and we're here to enjoy it, right? It's fun. It's all God. It's all good. But that's not going to give you the longing. Most people are longing for that feeling or that sense of home that I found,
Right,
and
right.
just remembering, it's basically just remembering that you are God. I mean, because we all are, not a God. Like, it's not like I am a God. It's, you are God, source, love, the universe, all that is, right? Like, that's your true nature. And you just want to remember that, and you want to feel that again. And so we try to feel it through accumulating stuff and even being in love, which are all beautiful things and beautiful, like, expressions of source, and we're here for
Mhm,
that.
mhm,
But ultimately, I find that if we can kind of cut the BS right from the beginning, like, do you really want that thing that you think you want? Then it
mhm.
just cuts out a lot of time for people and trying to accumulate stuff that they don't really want anyway.
Right. See, that's exactly, you just nailed it on the head there. The point that I was going to make was, we talk about wanting these things, but as you've said, like, as you start to unfold those desires and dig deep into trying to understand why you want it, one of the questions I always get my clients to ask is, why do you want that? And then what comes up there is a deeper desire, right? It's a desire that it's rooted more in truth than what may have been observed on the surface, right? But see, what happens here is that in asking those questions, why do I want this? Why do I want this? And unfolding those desires, what you might find is that what you actually want isn't the same as what it is that you thought you wanted, right? And I think in many cases, people start to realize that the thing that they wanted and going after the thing they wanted is and very often is actually leading them astray from the things that they more truly want. But they haven't been able to yet see that because they haven't gone through this process of figuring out, well, what is it that I truly want here, and what is it about these things that I want, and then finding it comes back to a topic that I speak to, and it's differentiating between your superficial desires and your core desires. And in understanding what your core desires are, then you can start to actually line up with doing the things that will bring you that fulfillment, rather than, again, like you're saying, spending all this time and energy focusing on some of these things that when you get even, they're still, often people find they get there and they find that, you know, something's still missing. They still feel like something's missing. And that's because, well, that's not really what you wanted in the first place.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, cool. So you made a point that I is my truth as well. But I think a lot of people hear this and don't yet quite understand where it is that we're trying to guide them. And it's the, you are source. You are source, you are God, you are one with source, you are all that is. Where, if someone came to you and they completely open to the idea but had no idea what you meant with that, what's where do you guide them there?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. And also, you know, of course, it's a little bit challenging to answer because the person isn't in front of me, and so I don't really know where they're at. But if it were, you know, if I can speak to kind of general people, someone who is earnest and really wants to feel that, to because you talk about understanding it. And the thing is, as a human, right? I mean, we're not humans. Nobody's a human. You think you are. You're an infinite being, But that concept that I'm human and I have a mind and I need to understand something. I mean, can you understand all that is? Source, God, the universe, light, love, like the substratum of everything. Can it really be something you can go, oh yeah, I get that with my mind? I mean, you kind of can. So what I'm getting at, it's not so much of an intellectual knowing, but more of a deeper, like, heart or soul knowing. So then what I would guide someone to do is, if they were a beginner or they just weren't quite sure of where to go next, is I would help to guide them, just guide their energy down away from the head space and into the heart space, for example, and just to feel that space there, and even just to feel love, because that's what love is, right? It's all that is. It's everything. It's God. It's us.
It's in feeling that we know.
Yeah, it's really inexplicable. But there are also ways to explain this intellectually. Like, you know, one of the teachings I do is my teacher, Bennet Ino Massaro. I take a lot of stuff from his work, from his teachings that he's taken from, like, you know, it's all just recycled truth, basically. We all just kind of talk about it a little bit differently, like you were saying. So I have a process that I take people through, kind of a deepening. So for someone who's really at the person level, right, and really identified with being a person and in a body and all of that, you just take them. It's kind of a slower process. You know, it's not like, okay, you're God. All right, I got it. You know, I mean, what's that?
I said, if only it was that easy.
Yeah. Well, the paradox is that it is, because you're already always God, and there's nothing. That's like the secret of all the Enlightenment teachings. Like the inner circle is like, you're already there. You're already God. There's literally nothing to do.
No, it's the exact same thing that I've come to realize. It's you're there when you realize that you're already there.
Exactly. Yes. So that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's this decision to just let go, right? And I think one of the things that often that people going down the spiritual path end up often, or probably always end up facing, is that we're seeking, and then we get to that point where we realize that, hey, the whole thing, that you get to a point where you realize that it's no longer about seeking. It's about just allowing. And it's this, at the same time, it's, yeah, I want to deepen into my understanding of truth, but simultaneously it's, I don't need to go anywhere. I'm already there. So I one of the things I love most about spirituality is how two completely contradictory, what you may think of as contradictory ideas, are both true at the same time. And I know that it can be a little bit challenging for people to embrace that at first, because it's often when you're still in that place of I need to understand. But it's honestly, I think the best way that I can put it is that it's being embracing of the uncertainty, embracing of the fact that we can never know that we know.
The human mind. Yeah. Yeah. It's like kind of taking yourself back. Like, who knows that? Who knows that? Like, know the knower, right? And then, wait, who knows that? And then who knows that? You just keep going back, and you're like, suddenly you're like, there's this little human thing. You're like, oh, wait, I'm not that. Right? So it's like you can pull yourself back and back and back until you can just see, you can witness the experience you're having, but then you can also witness the one who's witnessing. I mean,
it never ends.
It never, it never ends. It's beautiful. But yeah, I love that. It's, any truth really is like steeped in paradox, right?
Right. Oh, that's a cool way of putting it. I like that. Every truth is steeped into paradox. Nice. I'm gonna use
It's the
that.
gate. Yeah, it's I mean, it's just like, I think that's part of the thing our mind does. It's like, oh, we want to understand, and this is true, and this is true, and this is true, and it's like confusion, right? But that requires us to, like you said, surrender, let go to the mystery, not have to know with our mind anything, because you can't anyway, and just rest in it.
And then there just comes this amazing sensation of peace and release when you make that decision.
Yep. And it's, you are invited and can do it again and again and again in every moment, over and over and over.
Yeah, right. It's when it's about becoming conscious of it in that moment, because it's gonna happen, right? We're gonna fall out of it every so often. I know one of the things that I face and deal with, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people that are, into topics like mindfulness and presence, is when you catch yourself not being mindful or present, or still, you can that can cycle, that can kind of go down the cycle of thinking about the fact that a moment ago you weren't there, or you weren't where you wanted to be, and you just go down that continuous cycle until you decide, no, it's good. Everything is good, including those moments in which I may not have been, entirely mindful of my experience.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And actually, it's so funny. We were just talking about this on a call I was on yesterday. Like, okay, those moments that you're out of it, and then it's, yeah, because everything is just now. So if you're thinking about, oh, I wasn't there a minute ago, then you're not now, right? You're not here. You're not in the infinite space, the timelessness of all that is. And also, like you said, those moments where you're not there, or it's really not that you're not there, because you're always there. You just don't remember you're there. It's just you just forgot. So then you remember again. And then if you're hard on yourself about it, then that's like it's just the opposite of what would be useful in this moment, right? Because it's all God. Even that is. It's all beautiful. It's all part of it. And you just go, oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, the moment that you start to love that aspect of your experience too, that's when I think it kind of dissolves and fades away. And again, it comes back. It's the same thing. It's the two sides of it. The intention of wanting to move beyond something, right, which isn't entirely an issue, right? There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel better, but at the same time, that wanting and trying and trying and trying can be the very thing that kind of keeps you stuck in it.
Totally. Yeah. Trying or wanting anything are exhausting. I just don't do it anymore. I mean, intentionally, right? But yeah, that's, as humans, we're so conditioned and programmed to that we should want a bunch of stuff. We should always know what we want. We should have a bunch of goals and create, like get to them. And
Yeah. Okay. So what's your current approach when it comes to desires for yourself? I'm speaking. How do you approach desires in your own life?
it's also just such a great question for everybody. Um, for myself, I do my best. I mean, sure, the mind comes up with stuff, right, that it wants. And little things, daily things like, oh, certain food or whatever. But even like bigger things, like maybe a vision for my life or my business or whatever. I don't use the lower mind anymore for those sorts of things. It's like, and also if I catch myself trying to get somewhere, like out there that I think, is better than here, then I know
Mm-hmm.
I'm not aligned anymore.
You just
Right.
like, the way that you put that is, you know what? Let me let you finish how you approach it, and then I'll come back to
Okay.
what just occurred to me.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I want to say is what you felt right there is it's about where am I coming from? So that's always my question. Where am I coming? Am I trying to get somewhere? Am I trying to get something I think I don't have or that I'm not already? And then that's not a desire I would follow. But
Right.
if
Mm-hmm.
it's a desire from my calling, from my soul, then I'm like, oh yeah, cool, let's follow that. But I don't think of a vision and think, oh yeah, that's how I want it and it has to be like that. It just, I might have visions that pop in, that come, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And I might sit with it for a minute and then I let it go completely. And there's no
Mm-hmm.
attachment to the outcome. So no attachment to the outcome.
There
Like
you go.
as long as I'm coming from my calling, and that's a lot of the work I do with people is help them explore what their essence is, their calling, and then they come from that place, and that's it. Desires
Mm-hmm.
come from there, and if they don't, I don't pay attention to them.
There you go. Yet again, the way that you approach it and think about it is just so in alignment with how I do. I think the big things there that I have to reiterate is the attachment, right? I think. See, here's the thing. I feel like a lot of people, again, in the spiritual community, they hear that word desire, and there's this idea that desires are bad. We shouldn't have desires. Desires are the root of all suffering, right? You hear that being thrown around, but what I've come to see is that it's not the desire that is that's causing suffering. It's the attachment
Mm.
to the outcome, the attachment to the desire.
Yeah.
So where I think is the healthy place to be, is when you want something, you got to consider, as you, it's the exact same thing that you mentioned here, is it shouldn't be I want that. I want to go over there because I'm trying to get away from what's over here, right? Because then that is reflective of not being allowing of the present moment, right? That's reflective of resistance, right? So it's about not coming from that place of or not being in that place of I want this because I don't like what I currently have. Rather, it's about moving into desires because allowing that into your experience excites you. The the idea of moving towards a desire, going over there, excites me. And it's not even just about being excited about the idea of having what's over there. It's about being excited to move towards it, excited in each moment that you are aligning yourself with creating that for yourself. And that's how I've come to differentiate, those superficial desires, which is just, that craving, that wanting, that stems often from attachment, with the intuition, the calling to move in the direction, because it just feels good to do that. It feels good to allow that. So I think you can see, like, the way that we think about it is so in alignment. And I'd love to hear how you spoke to it, because well, I agree with it. Nice.
Yeah.
uh, okay, so I mean, there's a couple different ways that I wanted to take this, or I was thinking about taking it. um, I think for now, what I want to hear from you is a little bit more about you. I want to hear a little bit more about you and your story. um, you know what? Let's go very. I want to give you the space to take this where you want to. Um, where do you go when someone asks you, like, tell me about yourself?
Yeah, that's Um, it just depends where to go, because it depends on who I'm talking to and what the context is and what feels relevant. And for your audience, perhaps it seems like we could go a little bit deeper, right? Because on the superficial or surface level, it's like, oh yeah, I'm Tarah and I'm a coach, and I guide people to, so if someone were to ask me in like a 60-second thing, I would say, oh, I help people who feel like they don't belong here on Earth, right? The galactic beings like myself. I talk
Ask
about.
if that comes up in a party, is that the you use the that term?
I do now, yeah, because I give 0 Fs.
Good for
Yep.
you.
Yeah, of course. Like this is Bryan, this is the superficial level. So somebody asked me what I do. I'm like, I'm a galactic tour guide.
I love it. I
I tell
absolutely
people.
love it. I used to, it wasn't even just like half a year ago where when someone would ask me the question at a party, I would freeze out because I know that the way that I think of it in my mind is completely different than, it was just, honestly, it was lack of confidence in who I
Yeah.
was at the time. But I've come a long way since then, but good for you
Good.
for being able to just be you in those situations as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really freeing to not care. And that's one of the things that, as a human incarnate, we do is 99.9% of our actions, even the little ones with our face, and are for validation, right? We want validation. We're conditioned to seek validation from our external environment, basically, and from ourselves. So when that sort of begins to fall away more and more, then it's just, it's whatever comes out, whatever wants to come through. But on a deeper level, if you were to, who is Tarah? I would say, well, no one, everyone and no one. And so the work that I've been doing a lot lately is to become a vessel or a being who is here to serve others in the most powerful way that I possibly can. It requires me emptying myself, I'm using quotes for the listeners,
Mm-hmm.
my small self, of all the BS, right? All the stories, all the, just even like the things like that you think you are, like even the stories that, even the conditioning, even your preferences and your desires and all that stuff, there's nothing wrong with it. But in order to do the work I'm here to do, the more I can empty myself of that stuff and just be a clear vessel for source to come through and like serve whoever I'm in front of in the moment, is what I'm here for. So it's not about Tarah getting stuff in life or having a certain, I don't really care anymore what my life looks like externally, I guess you
Mm-hmm.
could
Mm-hmm.
say. So I have no plans or no goals or whatever. I just follow my calling, and wherever that leads me, I know it's, that lights me up. That's exciting. So so it's less and less about Tarah.
Right, right. And yeah, it's about dropping that identification with anything, right? It's as you drop
Yeah.
that identification, you just open up into this connection with the truth that all is self. And what what I find, and you can tell me if your experiences are similar, although I'm anticipating that they are, is when we do that, when we and disidentify and we open up as a vessel for source to come through, though I do want to come, I want to dig a little bit deeper into what that really means.
Yeah.
You and I think we have a certain level of understanding that we can use that and just keep moving forward, but I think we got to go a little bit deeper for the audience here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was saying that when that happens, or when you allow for that to happen, what starts to what I find starts to happen is that the actions and the direction that is going to bring you the greatest amount of joy in your own life, the greatest amount of good feelings for you, is the exact same thing that is going to allow you to have the greatest impact on those around you. The greatest thing, what I say is the greatest thing for you becomes the greatest thing for others as well. And like at first, if you might say that to someone, they might, I feel like there might be a little bit of resistance to it. Like, how can I have everything that I want if I'm thinking about others to this degree? But I really do think, like I said, my experience has been was when you move into this sort of uh, dropping of this identification and connection with all the self, the thing that brings you the greatest feelings is the things that end up having the best and greatest impact on those around you.
Hmm.
Actually, one second.
Yep.
Okay, gone. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you said that, or the way that you put that, because there is like this soul of the universe, right? It's like the light socket we're all plugged into. And so when something is of highest excitement through my soul to me, then it's actually what is in the highest good for everybody, because it's not my desire or my call. When I have a vision from my soul, it's not mine. It doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the world, to humanity, right? We came here as light workers, as light bringers, to guide humanity home,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so through following our highest excitement, we are actually doing service to the world. So, and when it's like, because there's no separation there, you are me, I am you, it's not like when I'm in service of you, I'm in service of myself, and vice versa. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then what that makes me, where I immediately went with that is, you said no separation. So we start to realize that what makes me feel good is the same thing that's going to make those around me feel good. The best way we can make others around us feel good, which is ultimately what we're trying to do. If we really had to simplify it to the core, I think it's just, how can we make there just be more love and joy in our world, right? And then, one of the most important realizations I've ever come to is that the thing that makes me feel good is going to be the thing that makes those around me feel good. And the best way that, here's the way that I like to think of it, is the best way to help those around you is to start with how you feel, right? Because that energy is going to move through you into the space around you, to those around you.
Hmm. Yeah, and I feel like there's an important distinction to make around like that, because some might think, oh, I
Feel
just
good.
get an ice cream and I feel good and yay, which is fine too, right? But there's like a difference in like feeling good as in sort of an external emotion state, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the what, like we were talking about, coming from the state of beingness, which is remembering who you are, which is I am God, which is then great for everybody because you're in service just by your state of beingness.
Mm-hmm.
So does that make sense to distinguish
Yeah,
kind of like
definitely. I think the term "feel good" can be a little bit misleading.
mm,
For me, I know what that means to me. I know
yeah,
that. See, for me, doing that which feels good is also, I say, synonymous with doing what is in alignment with source. That's how I know that something is in alignment with
yeah,
source, because it feels good. But
yeah,
the way that I've come to understand or think of that term, feel good, and I think it's important that we try to, it's almost like we're trying to redefine what that means, right? Because if we start to look towards this allowance and alignment as and I do think we got to like just dig a little bit deeper into what those words mean. But if we come to think of those things as the thing that feels good, then it becomes a matter of just doing what feels good. Right now, doing what feels good might mean to someone eating that ice cream, or
yeah,
just lazy, being just sitting at home doing nothing, because they're not thinking in terms of the actual thing that feels good is alignment, is allowance,
mhm,
is being connected to your truth and the truth of what you most deeply want. And again, even that word want, right, it can be misleading. But I've started using these words to speak to the kind of thing that we're speaking to, because it's the way that in my mind it makes most sense to think about. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I got,
Okay.
yeah, no, I gotcha. And there, yeah, a lot of these terms, you know, can mean many different things to many people. So I like that, you know, we're kind of clarifying, what does feeling good mean? You know, it's being in alignment. And what does being in alignment mean? It's being in alignment with source and with your unique energy, signature, essence, whatever that is, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and that's unique and different for everyone. But ultimately, we're all here to be love and remind each other that we're God. And so when, and if everybody is really honest with themselves, when they feel that moment of total and complete fulfillment within themselves, it's never been about something they have received or gotten for themselves. It's almost always 100% of the time, in my experience, when I ask people this, they were in service to someone else without trying to get anything back, without attachment to it. That's when they were lit up the most,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in service to another. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so let's I keep saying it, I want to kind of just move deeper into to not just what this means to us, but I think, yeah, the thing that we haven't yet talked enough about, I think, is the how do we do this, how do we make this happen? And of course, I mean, it really depends on meeting that person where they're at, like you and I being coaches, getting clarifying or figuring out that how is going to be completely different between people. But I mean, I'm sure together we can come up with, you know, like a more general a general take on like how do you even let this happen. So first, let me just kind of clarify the what it is that I want to, you know, build this a step-by-step kind of process for, and then we can get into your thoughts around how we can go about doing this. So what I'm speaking to here is really, like we've been circling around this idea of um, allowing for source to come through us in the way that it most naturally wants to. um, a lot of people, and I want to add here that this, as I'm sure you'd agree, is the exact same way that we connect to our purpose, what people are calling their purpose. That in order to do that, what you must do here is learn to just allow for the flow of source. um where do we go from there? Like, okay, let's start with that. I want to connect to my purpose, Tarah. um I'm not sure what I'm here to do, what I'm meant to do. Where do you usually take your clients and your calls and your meetings when someone asks you something?
Yeah. And again, it's totally different, right? Case by case. But there are a few different ways that I would go. But what seems relevant right now, what's coming through is, and you see right now, it's an example. Like if I were to go into my mind, I might say something completely different here. But instead, I'm doing my best to get Tara's thoughts or what I think should be said out of the way and just letting source come through to say it, if that makes sense to the listeners. So usually what I do with
So
folks.
actually, on that right there, how do you differentiate the two? I think that's where we got to go. How do you
Okay.
differentiate what's happening in here and what it
Yeah.
is trying to move through you?
So if it feels like I'm trying too hard, or like there's a lot of effort and it's the energies in my head, and I'm really deciding between, okay, this or this or this, or what should I say? Or I care about what you think about what I say or what someone else thinks about what I say. You know, basically I'm just in my head. Then I know I'm not totally clear to let source come through. And to be like fair to just our beautiful human incarnates here, like we will all have distortions and filters because we have the conditioning we have. It's almost impossible for a vessel to be so completely clear. I've only seen it in a handful of people on this earth, right? So it doesn't mean we're not already there, but it's just to get that clear. So, but to get is, you know, what we're talking about right now is, yeah. So if I'm in my head or I'm trying or it's hard or there's confusion, that means no. So then it's like, even if you have to slow down, even if you have to, usually the first thing that pops in your head is from the head,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I were going to say something. So it's like slowing it down as much as you want or need to. For me, it's like sinking into the resting space of awareness. So, that's hard to describe too.
All of this is, I
But
mean,
all of it is, yeah. It's like,
yeah,
what
but
the F?
you're doing a great job.
Okay, good.
Please do continue.
So it feels like if I'm speaking through source, it feels light. I'm not worried about what I'm saying. I don't care actually what's coming through because it doesn't matter. I don't care how it lands for people really. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's just of course I care. Um, but yeah, it's just kind of a lighter feel, more expanded, free feeling versus a contracted feeling when I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
or when one is trying.
Mm-hmm.
And this can come through, you can feel it in actions you take, you can feel it in words you speak, you can just feel it in the energy that you are in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, having said that, this is a state that um, it's like building a muscle, right? It requires, in my experience, practice. Um, and clearing yourself, emptying yourself out of the need for validation and any BS, stories, all of that is actually a really good place to start, knowing that you're basically always full of shit. It's like my teacher says,
Yeah.
just know as a human, you're pretty much always full of shit. So that's a great foundation. It's not a blame thing. It's just like, oh, cool, I'm full of so much shit. Can we be curious about that?
Yeah.
And continuing to do the work of clearing that stuff out. And by that I mean your stories you have, your conditioning you have. I'm not good enough. Like there's any lack beliefs that you might have. All those things that are come up that might even be subconscious that will filter through what you might be saying or whatever. And then it's so much easier to let source flow through when the more and more it lets you empty
Right.
yourself.
Right. You said it's like a muscle that you build.
Yeah.
One thing that I say is it's momentum that gets built with this, and what I mean by that is the more that you do this, the more that you move into this, the easier it becomes, and it just yeah, it becomes easier and easier, and I'm sure most people can even think about like being in those two different places where like one they have no idea, they're uncertain, there's all this noise, they feel this they don't feel a sense of confidence or clarity around a particular direction maybe, or being in this place where you just know what you need to know and you have no doubt in your mind that you know. So one thing I'll tack on to kind of your lovely explanation, by the way. I love the words that come up, and again, like you and I, we know that it's nothing that you can only really hope to try to describe the feeling, right? And just use all these words that just are in aim of guiding someone to get there. You can never really just fully describe it and say, yeah, this is what it feels like. You can only just try to hope to describe it and get them there, and allow for them to get there on their own, I should say, rather.
Yeah.
One thing that I'll throw on to it is I think one of the things that I say right up front is that regardless of how you might feel right now, you know you know what you need to know, and there's a place there in this moment right now. You already have the answer that you're looking for. You're just right now having a little bit of trouble distinguishing or differentiating between all the noise and that place of knowing and confidence that is always there. And I think when you first make, I don't even know when I first kind of made that realization, so I can't really specifically speak to it, but I could just only imagine that if you embrace that, yeah, at all times there is this place available to me where there is no doubt, then it becomes so much easier to get there, because you know what you're looking for. You're looking for a place that it's just one direction, and there's no doubt about it, and it's there. It's there, and you got to believe it's there before you can even feel it.
Yeah, I feel you. We're always already there. We're always already there.
Yeah, we came back to that a couple of times. We're
Yeah.
already always there. I
Oh,
think so far in this conversation that seems to be the
thread.
theme.
Yeah.
I love it because, like I said to you at the beginning, like I actually had no intentions with regards to where I wanted to take this conversation. Actually, I don't know if I did a good enough job of describing this for those that end up do listening to this, but um, I'm sure even just people in the past who may have watched the podcast is going to notice a huge difference in the type of conversations that I'm having with the type of conversation I'm having with you, because this is actually the first one. I don't know if I mentioned this to you.
Ooh.
This is
Oh,
the
fun.
first interview that I've done in 6 months. I haven't put out a podcast
Wow.
episode for 6 months. And in that time, I've come a long way. A lot has changed. I've grown a lot. And the style going into this, even just the excitement and energy going into this is completely different. I'm gonna send you one of the previous episodes so you can just hear the difference.
Okay,
But
cool.
it's completely different than the past. So I do want to thank you for being. It's a new beginning for me and the podcast. So I want to thank you for being the one of the first people, the first person to join me in this.
Oh, well, thank you so much for the invitation. Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
It's
Okay, cool.
beautiful.
So one place that I wanted to take the conversation and hear a little bit more about, because um if we hadn't really made it clear yet, you and I are doing very similar line. We're in a very similar line of work. Actually, if I go through and read, like when I went through and read the description of your coaching program and who it's for and what you're helping people with, it's almost entirely exactly the kind of work that I'm doing. Um, and
Awesome.
one of the things that I haven't yet uh, incorporated in the conversations that I've had with people, because I hadn't yet seen how this fit in, but now I do, is the topic of really business. The
I knew you were
topic
gonna.
of, yeah, did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, I mean, just to kind of give our listeners a little bit of an idea of why I feel like this is relevant is we're talking about, connecting to our purpose. We're talking about um, having the sort of impact that we're here to have. Now, I know that many of the people that are found in our community and many people that are going to be attracted into watching this type of content are going to be people that feel called to go down the route of entrepreneurship and
Yeah.
doing light work of their own. So I want to hear a little bit more about you and your business, your coaching. How long ago did you start? And then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I love this. I love this topic. Well, when people ask me, how long have you been coaching? I'm like, well, my whole life. You can ask my mom when I was 5. I was like coaching her. But yeah, so I was an acupuncturist and I did that for over 10 years. And as I saw my patients, I would coach them. I mean, I just couldn't put needles in them and send them away. There was always coaching. So that's basically where I sort of developed, my coaching skills with folks. And so I would say, and then I felt the call, right? The guidance to retire from acupuncture and to just do the coaching and the guiding work. And that was a couple of years ago. I did just retire from acupuncture last year completely, but yeah, I've been doing coaching for several years and have had online classes and things like that. And it has shifted so much. Just how I do business, how I do my business is 100% different than how I did it years ago and how most people in like the 3D worlds do business.
So you're like a digital entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
Everything you do is it's online based, right?
Yeah, it's online based. I mean, I do in-person stuff too. I do, retreats and workshops and things like that. But yeah, it's all, everything I do is also, most of the things I do are also online. Yeah.
Cool. And currently the main thing I know is the coaching. Is that all that you're focused on, or are you doing other things as well on the side? I know you mentioned the retreats.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, the coaching. And then I just had a beautiful creation with one of my friends. We just created it. And this is an example of doing business in a different way, of just kind of what lights you up in the moment. We basically, in like an hour Zoom call last week, came up with this whole live course we're going to do. It's called Undo Your Business, actually. So it's all about doing business in this way of living from source, of living from your calling.
Mm-hmm.
So we were on the Zoom call, we created the whole thing. And what's so fun is that normally I've done online classes before, right? And this is totally different. So before, there's been so much structure and, okay, the launch date, and we got to lead up to the launch and all this stuff that's so heavy. And we're like, you know what? Let's do it. We don't have a start date yet. We did it. So far, we've done some Facebook Lives around the subject. We're just
Mm-hmm.
sharing the energy. We're just seeing what happens. We don't even have a set date for when it's going to start or end. We just know we want to do it until it feels complete. We don't have like, in this week it's going to be this, and this week we're going so much with the flow that whomever is, guided to join our course with us, we will be creating from the space of, okay, what is called for, what is needed, what do you guys need, want, feeling into that. And really in the moment, like, oh yeah, this week we're going to do our call on this day. Great. Next week it's probably going to be a different day. Do
Mm-hmm.
you see? So it's such a different way to do business that they're so like, yeah, okay, and what is my value and how much am I going to get? All that stuff. And I'm getting really lit up because I'm so excited about it.
I
But
love
really
it.
the whole intention is like, people are just going crazy and suffering in their businesses, and they've totally taken away from their calling, from why they're doing it, right? So the intention is so that people can have the impact, do what they're here to do, stay on, do it, like be, not do, be who you're here to be, and do it through your business. Ah, yes.
I'll I'm starting to see how like all the puzzle pieces of what this conversation was supposed to be is coming together to create this just magnificent piece of art, because it's honestly exactly it's exactly what I've been going through and experiencing for the past few months. What you're trying to get people to work through is the exact same thing that I've allowed myself the space to, and that's why I'm so excited for you, because I know that how powerful this can be in just letting go of all the just everything, just letting go of everything and just allowing. And my experience with that, I'll talk about that in a sec, but my experience with that has been powerful. So I'm just super excited for you and the people that end up working with you, because I know how great it can be. But then also I just saw I immediately saw the connection between what it is that we're speaking to right now and everything else that we were talking about. Before we were talking about it, it wasn't yet
Yeah.
in the context of business, but
Yeah.
we kind of like set the stage. We already explained why all of this is so important. We already explained why this should be approached outside of the conversation of business. But now we can bring this into now we can talk about how we can bring this into business and the sort of effect that can have. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. I actually love what you're doing, and the name, Undo Your Business.
It's
Definitely
awesome,
love.
right?
I'm definitely loving it. So yeah, my experience with that has been powerful. Really, it really has been. When I it's crazy because when I stopped caring about all the things that people tell you should care about, that's
Oh,
when I started to see success.
yeah.
When I start, like it actually happened in this most very magical way where for months I was planning, trying to get things in the works, planning, right? How often do we spend all the time planning? And I mean, during that planning phase, I didn't find a single client because I was still planning.
Yeah.
And when I decided, like I kind of know what led up to it. And interestingly enough, I know you had a similar experience. It was when I started taking videos daily and not being too concerned with overly editing it or making anything in particular, just saying whatever came up. I know you did something similar with your live streams, right?
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
So
Hmm.
that led into me just kind of, when I started doing that, when I started, not overthinking what it was that I was saying, I just noticed that I was enjoying what I was doing so much, so much, so much more. And shortly after, I had an influx of clients come in. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to brag, but like literally, like I got more clients in 2 weeks than I struggled to find in a matter of 6 months. And I think it really does come back to the message that you and your friend is trying to spread, and it's just let go, and allow for feels right to come through. And when you drop all that stress that comes with overthinking every little thing, this energy comes through you that will attract the people that you're looking to serve.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. Like it's so easy, and people think, wait, it can't be that easy, right? It can't be that like effortless to do your business or create your business. And well, yeah, because the thing is there's no separation between life and business. We have a tendency to be like, this is my business and I have to operate it this way, with all the rules and all the da da da. But my life, I can be totally spiritual and happy and free. But there's actually no separation between them. We can do our business the way we do our life, and it just, yeah, it's easy. It's easy. It's fun. The people who you're meant to serve come effortlessly, through, and yeah,
That
it's
word,
beautiful.
it's a word that I've found myself using a little bit too now, effortlessly.
Mm.
It's I mean, it's just okay. So I guess this is where I want to leave off. Then try to tackle this one last thing. Um, Effortless. Like you and I can see how if you presented that idea to someone that doing business should feel effortless. I automatically know that like there's going to be people that have no idea where you're trying to go with that. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah. And so yeah, I guess it's a different, okay. So effortless doesn't mean that you're not taking action and that there's not quote unquote like work involved. So there's the same amount of effort involved in doing business both ways. Only your focus is somewhere else when you're in alignment. You're focused on being in alignment. You're focused on coming from your calling. So let's remember, there is a remembrance. Am I in alignment right now doing this? Oh, I'm not. Okay, so let's remember that. So there is effort in that, but it's just so much easier than efforting to try to go upstream basically than just to flow with the stream. So effortless may not be like totally the right word. It feels effortless
Feels
because
effortless. That's
it
it.
just feels,
Feels.
yeah, it's just easy. It feels like, oh yeah, okay, I'm focused on being in alignment, but that's it.
Here, I'm gonna jump in with this.
Yeah.
It feels effortless because the thing that is most in alignment with the success that you're going to see, the thing that's going to move you forward, the most powerfully, is the exact same thing as what you want to be doing. Would you agree? What you want to be doing and what you should be doing becomes the same thing.
Yeah, right. Yes, it's not like, oh man, I gotta set up my marketing emails for whatever. Well, no, unless you want to, and if it lights you up, it's like you can use regular marketing tools. Like I use them. I use newsletter. We use podcast tools, right? Like because we like it. It's fun. It lights us up. You can use whatever you want, but there's no have to, should, oh, do it this way, this 5-step plan, this, will get you there. It's like, well, it might, but is it going to be joyful or is it going to be painful?
And again, I have to just drive this point that if you're doing something that is making you feel that stress and that sense of I'm struggling and like I'm fighting this uphill battle, um, you're not gonna see the results that you're looking to see, because that's your indicator that you're not doing things the way that your soul wants to do it. And
Right.
when you let go of feeling like there's a right way of doing things and you begin doing it in the way that feels right to you, it's magical. Honestly, I can't even begin to. I'm trying my best, but I don't think I can fully put words to how it feels, and then just the way in which the results and the success just kind of starts to flow.
Yeah. And the thing is you're so aligned and things are so amazing and magical just in this moment that you don't even care what happens. And that's what I found to be the best. Like, yeah, great thing, cool things are always happening, magic, success, whatever. But I don't have any sort of like, oh, I need to get 5 clients this month. Like that's not even in my realm of thinking, because I don't care. I'm just happy right now because of where I'm coming from. I'm in alignment.
Right. And it's deciding that you're going to prioritize how you feel right now rather than what you think is the best thing to do in order to get to the place where you want to be.
Right, which doesn't even exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Wow.
the people that, people are attracted to that energy, that magic effort. Like they just like flies, they just come because you're
Right.
in non-resistance,
All right. So that's again the point that I'm making here. It's that I mean you're not doing it for it's because it's when you stop trying to do it for the results. Not to say
Yeah,
you're not trying to create great results for yourself. That's not the point. But it's letting go of your attachment to those outcomes. But
yeah.
I want people to see that when you move into this, you very likely, very very likely will start to find that the results that you see and the success that you find is going to be even more powerful than
Yeah,
had you done it the other way.
yeah. And it'll actually be exactly what you need. It'll be a mirror and a reflection for you to grow in exactly how you want or need to grow the most, so that you can serve the most people, whatever that looks like.
As it always is.
Yeah.
I love it. Tara, I think yeah, it feels right. It feels right to, as great as this conversation is going, it feels right to bring it to an end. A few things I want to say before you go. One, I don't want this to be the last time that you have obviously not. I didn't
No,
even need to ask you, and I know
no. Yeah,
you're done.
I'm in.
Cool. So yeah, we're definitely doing this again sometime. And the last thing I want to say is, well, there's two people here having a conversation that can help many people out there connect to their calling, connect to their purpose, discover their truth, and move into it. I just want our listeners to know that both you and I hope I can advertise you for you,
Of
right?
course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I highly encourage our listeners to reach out to either one of us, because, like I said, I'm just so confident that both of us are so capable of helping people just move into their calling and have the sort of impact that they're meant to have. Actually, question for you: are you specifically looking to work with people now that want to create businesses, or are you still working with people that don't really have that in mind?
Both. Yeah.
Okay, you're open
Both.
to anyone.
I have
Yeah,
different programs. So yeah, both.
awesome. Okay, so why don't you say a few words with regards to you and where to find you, as well as the work that you're doing, so that if anyone is interested in getting in touch with you, they can do that. But I would love for you to share a little bit about that too.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah. So if it resonates, if it calls to you, my website is tarahsyel.com. That's TARAHCYEL.com. And you'll find everything, on my website. I do work with people one-on-one, for guidance, for coaching, for mentoring. And that's people who are ready to live their soul's calling, who are just ready to say hell yes, and to just go for it. And even if you felt like you haven't belonged on the earth and you have this, like many of us light workers have. And then the Undo Your Business course is starting sometime in the next 3 weeks. We're not sure yet.
Okay,
So I don't
so
know when this is going to air.
exactly sure when this is going to be released. So
Yeah.
today is August 15th. I mean, if I will put the link to that program in the show notes if
Oh, cool.
when I put this out.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, also working with people who have a business and are just like suffering and frustrated. Like I'm sure you can too, Bryan, help people with all of this stuff. But yeah, and they're ready to like undo it, realign, redesign, or you're starting from scratch. That's fine too. So
Awesome. Anything else
beautiful.
that you'd like to share before we hop off the call here?
Just thank you. Just gratitude and appreciation for your time and for your listeners' time, and just for creating the space for people to
The
connect
the
and tune in.
pleasure was mine. Um, I'll leave it with this. The only reason we're having this conversation is because I wanted it to happen. thoroughly enjoyed spending time talking to you here. And that's why I do what I do. But like I said, it's not going to be the last time that we do one of
That's
these.
right.
So again, I do
Right.
appreciate your time. It was awesome. It was definitely a really great time.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And bam! I just bammed. I totally just bammed. And bam! That's it, guys. That's my interview with Tarah Long. I hope you enjoyed it, and I definitely enjoyed doing it. I definitely enjoyed having that conversation, and like I had mentioned before, I think if you've listened to the previous episodes on the show, I'm sure you would have noticed a difference in the energy and the tone of this conversation that I had with Tarah. And if you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, again, I'll say it one more time, do expect to hear a lot more of this kind of thing moving forward. This is the sort of upbeat, fun, free sort of nature that I'm going to go into having these future conversations and interviews with, because I mean, it comes back to exactly what we kind of were talking about this whole conversation, and it's when you allow for your truth to come through, and you do this by just doing things in the way that feels right to you and letting go of everything else, dropping that resistance, things just become so much more fulfilling and exciting. And this is how you connect to your purpose, and this is how you have the sort of impact that you are here to have. So before you guys go, I want to say it one more time. I know I mentioned it in the ending of the interview there, but I thought I mentioned it again. Both Tarah and I have experience with working with people to connect to this place, connect to their true self, their higher self, and bring that through in their life and in their business. So if you're ready to make this happen for yourself, if you're feeling yourself dealing with that sort of inner conflict and lack of clarity, do know that this is the means through which we find that sense of clarity around who we are and what we came here to do. And if you'd like some assistance with finding that place, being guided to that place, I do encourage you to reach out to either Tarah or I, and just know that we'd be happy to and we'll be able to guide you to this place so that you can create impact. And so if you'd like to reach out to Tarah, you can find her at tarahsyel.com. That's TARAHCYEL.com. And if you'd like to have a one-on-one conversation with me, you can actually book straight into my schedule for an alignment session, and you can do so at www.togetherweascend.com/alignment. Both of those links, as well as all the stuff that we talked about in this episode, as well as any of the resources that were mentioned, can be found at the show notes to this episode, which can be found at togetherweascend.com/awaken13. Anyways, Ascenders, that's it for this episode of Awaken. I'm going to say one last time, I'm just super excited to be going back into this with you guys. I am really looking forward to having these conversations and putting out these episodes in the future. And I know that it's going to bring forth some valuable content for you guys. So that's it for this episode, Ascenders. Thank you for watching. Until the next one, keep ascending.